There's one other guy that I want to talk about that it doesn't have anything to do with Pro Bowl because Trey Hendrickson did get the Pro Bowl nod. But there is no conversation for him whatsoever on Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
And he's tied for sacks.
There probably shouldn't be.
What do you mean shouldn't be?
There's 3 people more deserving. Like, he's had a fantastic year. No one's denying that, but he shouldn't be Defensive Player of the Year.
But have you looked at the odds? Have you looked at do you see
They're
how much
probably
disrespect that the No, they're not fair at all.
Because he's not going to win Casey.
Let me list all the guys that are ahead of Trey Hendrickson, okay? Myles Garrett definitely probably should deserve. Micah Parsons.
Fair.
TJ Watt.
Fair.
Max Crosby.
Sure.
Hunter Daniil. Josh Allen. Hunter Daniil. The Vikings edge rusher. Josh Allen. Nick Bosa. Roquan Smith. Deron Bland. I don't know why he's that far down. Aiden Hutchinson. Justin Matabike. Chris Jones. Hassan Reddick. Fred Warner. And then tied with Kyle Hamilton and Jalen Carter, the rookie, is Trey Hendrickson at plus 25,000. And he is tied currently for the sack number. He's only 1 turnover difference than TJ Watt. I mean, I think it's a little disrespectful. And he also leads. I'm pretty sure he's in the top 3 in pass rush win rates. So I don't know. I just think it's a little bit of a unfair that he doesn't get more of a conversation, because without him, this Bengals defense is 100% abysmal, has nothing.
All right.
So that's a good thought. I mean, if without Trey Hendrickson, you think that the Bengals defense would be significantly worse.
Significantly worse.
So instead of it being Hendrickson, and again, I know this is a little bit of a lightning rod type of player because you have a young player, and if they don't perform early, then all of a sudden they get some narrative written about them, and then all of a sudden maybe it's tough to come back from a bad first impression, and that's certainly what Murphy has been. And some people that watch tape significantly think Murphy has made progress, but if you had Murphy instead of Hendrickson, you'd think it would be a significant drop-off. Like there would be clear, noticeable issues, or are you just overvaluing Hendrickson?
Well, that's the only pressure that is even present on the Bengals defensive line at the current moment is Trey Hendrickson. So you take that away, and they really don't get any pressure home. So, I mean, the drop-off, like what you're talking about, is probably like 3/4 of Trey Hendrickson's production currently, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the whole Pro Bowl, All-Pro thing, I don't think anyone that watches football significantly really cares about it. I really don't. I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's a select few amount of people that are like, wow, like my favorite player didn't get All-Pro, or my favorite player didn't get a Pro Bowl. Not like the Pro Bowl has become pretty much the biggest joke in all of sports. We used to make fun of the All-Star game in baseball when it was so laughable that they would tie at the end of the game. Then all of a sudden everyone was in an uproar about that because they ran out of pitchers and there was a tie. And how could you possibly have an all-star game? It used to mean something back in the days when, you had all the guys that didn't play this interleague stuff. Now they're all friends. I hate that. They're all friends now. They don't want to play each other. And then all of a sudden, what is it, Bud Selig, I think it was like, you know what? We're going to fix that. We're going to make the World Series depend on who gets home field advantage for the all-star game. And then, you know what? That brought a little bit of spark to it. Brought a little bit of life to it. That is not the case anymore. They kind of took that away, which I think is more than fair. But the Pro Bowl has reached the level now to where you can just get rid of it, right? Or if nothing else, I guess they're trying to implement it to be more of like they're going to sneak in a flag football game now. Like that's the idea. Yeah. So clearly the NFL knows they're in a situation where it's tough to play a game where people inevitably are probably going to get hurt if it's played somewhat serious at all. And if you're not going to play serious, then nobody really cares to watch because there's nothing to watch because the game that you love doesn't exist. So it's nothing more than just an award. And most times awards, for all intents and purposes, just come down to a beauty competition. And not that many people want to talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame on this show, but the Baseball Hall of Fame certainly has flaws in it. You have people posting pictures of their ballots now on X, and their reason for not voting for Gary Sheffield is because, why? Well, he'll be on the ballot next year. Well, the person that's making these votes was unaware that he was not going to be on the ballot next year. Seems like a flaw in the system. Now, I get it. Big numbers, mass numbers. One will always show its head and be kind of, maybe an outlier to where you shouldn't focus and harness all your energy on the one forgotten person that doesn't know what they're doing, and you have a system that has a ton of people that are doing a really good job, so your system as a whole is solid. But it's not a good look for Major League Baseball either when they're Hall of Fame. And I know it's not Major League Baseball, it's the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame. But for all intents and purposes, it is the Sports Hall of Fame. Doesn't have a good look to it when you have people that vote on the actual subject and they don't even really know all of the details that are at hand. So I do not put a lot of stock in it. I know as a sports talk show, and maybe this is why we're a little bit different sometimes in sports talk shows, I just don't want to make a big deal about who got in, who got out, or who got this award, or who got that award. I do think it's a reasonable discussion to say, how worthy is Hendrickson? And that's why I asked the question. Is Hendrickson that much better than everybody else to where if he was gone, like a J.J. Watt, would you notice?
Yes.
Or a T.J. Watt?
Yeah, I think you would notice a significant drop-off on the Bengals defense if Trey Hendrickson was gone.
I agree. Like, I think Trey Hendrickson, absolutely you'd notice him if he wasn't on the field. Like, that's undeniable considering he damn near leads the league in sacks. The question I have is, do opposing offensive coordinators fear Trey Hendrickson the way that opposing coordinators fear Micah Parsons, the way that opposing coordinators fear Myles Garrett, the way that opposing coordinators fear TJ Watt? When we go into a game with the Browns, we talk about Myles Garrett for a week. When we go into a game with the Steelers, we talk about TJ Watt for a week. When people play the Bengals, do they talk about Trey Hendrickson for a week? Oftentimes it's they've got a nice pass rusher on the edge. It's not the game plan isn't around stopping Trey Hendrickson more often than not. So that's where, like, when you talk about all these guys that are true defensive player of the year guys, they when they're on the field, they affect the entire defense because more attention is going to be brought to them. Opposing teams are shifting their game plan around him. I don't think that's the case with Trey Hendrickson. And I love Trey Hendrickson. I just don't think that's the case.
I think the only guy that deserves, like, kudos for that sort of thing is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has done it with nobody to help him out on the other side. TJ Watt has had Cam Hayward and another guy on the other side for most of his career. I don't know. We're not going to get into the comparisons here. But I think that what you bring up is fair. Do coordinators fear Trey Hendrickson? Probably not as much as those guys,
right.
But I think that's why the conversation should be. I mean, he leads the league in sacks.
That's what I was going to say.
He should be in that conversation at some point. And because that there's not another guy there, we'll never know that, like, if he does end up getting this attention that he does deserve, whether or not he can, be a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, I don't know.
My point to what you're saying is if should it be about the opinions of what someone else thinks of you in regards to what your worth is, or should your worth just be based off what you've done on the field? Because if the question is well, defensive coordinators don't stay up at night worrying about Trey Hendrickson, well, maybe they should. I mean, maybe they should. If he has the same amount of sacks as all these other guys we're worrying about, at some point you think that you would worry about that guy. I don't know, but I'm with you. Here's the narrative in Cincinnati that seems to become tired at times for me, and it's that whenever we have a player in this town that is we'll call it a good player, maybe a great player, it's that the national media or they don't get the respect they deserve. Well, there's a lot of great players in a league, and until you kind of either do one of two things, you play over your head, or you play great for so long they can't ignore you, which is what Hendrickson would have to do, or you come out of the draft and you come from a high profile place that you're already well known about before you get there, then you would. Joe Burrow, we all know, is a superstar. Joe Burrow is one of the most well-known NFL players that there are. I would argue it's yes because he's gotten to the Super Bowl, and it's yes because he's great, but it's also because of what he did before he got to the NFL. No one knew who Trey Hendrickson was before he got to the NFL. This wasn't some well-known guy. It's not like he was Jadeveon Clowney or a Myles Garrett type. Myles Garrett, again, is a guy that has some controversy that has surrounded him as well. And I'm not just suggesting that is something that you would like for your players to get, but some of that comes from notoriety as well. I mean, Richard Sherman, if he never talked, if Richard Sherman never said a word, if Richard Sherman didn't, basically be flamboyant, would anybody really know who he was while he was playing? No. I mean, and Jalen Ramsey's another good example. Ocho Cinco was a very, very well-known wide receiver. Yes, it was partly because he was a good wide receiver, but it was mostly because of the antics that came with him, which aren't bad. I enjoy that. I know that many people probably, that's a turnoff to them when the way in which certain people act in certain times. But these guys are professionals, man. I mean, the vast majority of these guys are professionals. I don't see having fun or doing something extra as a sideshow all that bad of a thing. Unless you think that other players on the team find it annoying, then at that point maybe you'd have an argument. But if you're including your teammates and you're having fun, which I think Ocho Cinco did for most of his career, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe you do. But that's why some people get more, call it respect, or they get talked about more in the media than others. And if you like a guy that just puts his head down and plays hard, and he lets his play speak for itself, that's what Trey Hendrickson has done. He's not a huge flamboyant guy. And I'm not trying to be mean, but we can also all agree that his physique doesn't help him, right? I mean, if you look at Myles Garrett, you laugh all you want, but it's the truth. If you look at Myles Garrett, you think to yourself, wow, I should probably pay attention to this guy. He looks like he's going to be a good football player. This is all the respect in the world. Some people are going to think this is a ricochet shot. If you look at Trey Hendrickson, that is not what comes to mind. Tell me I'm wrong. You guys are laughing at me. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm just going to steal Everett's comment here. Are we body shaming Trey Hendrickson right now?
What was that?
What was that?
What was that? What are we talking about? Yeah, I mean, like, is Trey Hendrickson as scary as Myles Garrett? No. But, like...
I want you to answer the question. What I said, people in chat could be like, oh, wow. Is what I said actually wrong?
Trey Hendrickson looks like a nice, cuddly bear.
Where's
TJ Watt
picture?
looks
Look
like
at that picture.
a thug.
There's him with his shirt off. He looks great.
Yeah, hang on. Let me get that photo.
He looks ripped.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. So you guys were talking about, like, right before you started talking about that bull junk, Trace, you said that, like, what you do on the field matters. Why do these periphery things matter when voting for Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, we have the same conversation literally every single year in almost every single sport about the most valuable player. We talk about, like, well, how valuable is he to the team, right? It's not just what they do on the field. If you do what they do just on the field, then Brock Purdy has the best stats, right? He's going to throw for the most yards. He's going to have the most touchdowns. Give it to Brock. Give it to Tua. But no, we're not going to give it to him because we know that Lamar Jackson's a more valuable player because of what he does for the team, all the things that he does for the team. And that's the point that I was making when I said that, like, yeah, Trey Hendrickson's stats are right there, right? They're right there with the best defensive players. I love Trey Hendrickson. I hope Trey Hendrickson finishes his career, a long, prosperous career for the Cincinnati Bengals. But to sit here and say that he imposes fear, that he affects the rest of the defense like a Myles Garrett does, would just be dishonest.
It could be dishonest.
And Aaron Donald's another name that gets thrown out there.
Fair enough. At the end of all of this, the reason the conversation started in the first place about all of this is because you felt like, and I say you as in Casey and Reed were discussing whether or not there was respect and whether or not there was merit to some guys, whether they should get a Pro Bowl or All Pro or whatever it is in the first place. And at the end of it all, I'm just not sure that people care about whether or not someone gets an award or doesn't get an award.
People don't, but it is incentivized in their contracts. That's
and Drew did mention that. So to be fair, I'm not saying it has no merit at all. Hey, yeah, I mean, listen, that's.
Look at that. Look at the veins popping out, man.
Right.
You know what?
He's an NFL player. I'm not suggesting
he doesn't wear gloves.
I think it's because of the sleeves.
Now,
I think it's because of the sleeves. He's got to stop wearing sleeves so then we can see those guns.
Does Trey lack a little bit of drip? Does he lack a little bit of drip? Sure. Is he the swaggiest player on the field? No. But he's ours, goddammit. He's ours. He's ours. That's our guy. And we'll rally behind him all we can. You know what? Defensive Player of the Year, Trey Hendrickson. Myles Garrett be darned. Give it to Trey.
That's right.
National media, put some respect on us.
Well, hey there. Thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. I'll tell you what, if you like that one, you're going to love this one, and you're going to really like this one down here. You're going to like them both. Like, comment, subscribe, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Thank you very much. Have a great day.